Yeah, there we go. Hello everybody. Jim here, coming to you Monday, well I guess it's like Monday night for me, Monday morning for everyone else when I post this. Time zones, they're ultra confusing, right? I'm filming this obviously not on a Monday night because I've got my coffee here. I'm filming it at some other mysterious time, some other mysterious day. Well, time. I guess you could drink coffee at any time, but usually you'll drink it in the morning, right? So maybe it's morning right now, bright and early here in Tokyo. Gonna shoot this video before I go to work. Maybe I'm just the type of person who likes to stay up all night drinking coffee. Who knows? Could be any time. One thing about coffee, Puzzle Bobble makes it better. Or Bubble Bobble, both. Both of them make it better, sure. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. What's going on, everybody? Back with some more games. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of game runs recently, game hunts, going to, kind of heading around West Tokyo, outside of Tokyo, going to Saitama and Chiba, hitting hard-offs and stuff. Kind of killing two birds with one stone. You know, picking up lots of games and also trying to get some YouTube content out of it. People likes them game hunts videos, but also going to Akiba on occasion, you know, to go pick up kind of like special requests, go to the pop-up shops, things like that. So yeah, just lots of games coming in, going out, and so we got some very excellent, if I do say so myself today, PlayStation games. Good old PS1. Picked up a lot of these recently. PS1, a console right now, I mean, huge library of games, lots of good stuff on it. And for the most part, not too terribly expensive to pick up games for, especially if you want some of the like Japanese exclusives. They're not all that terribly expensive, so I do get a lot of requests. I pick up PS1 games for myself, for my own collection, and then I also do get requests for PS1 games quite a lot. So we're going to take a look at half a dozen PS1 games I picked up recently. Some really good stuff in here. Let me know down in the comments if you like any imported PS1 games, any Japan exclusive stuff. What are some of your favorites, or what's some stuff on your wish list? And we're gonna get started with one here. Kind of a heavy hitter. I want to get it started with something really fun, kind of quirky. It's a little bit of an expensive game, but definitely a collector's piece, and just something that's kind of cool. This is Pepsi Man. And for those of you who don't know, what the hell is a Pepsi Man? Very interesting character. Pepsi Man was a Pepsi mascot, obviously. A mascot that was only used for advertisements in Japan, even though all of the commercials were filmed, as far as I can tell, in the United States. They're all featuring American actors. They all look like they were filmed in California. And this game as well, the whole premise, there's a guy like just with a ton of Pepsi, and he's just sitting there drinking Pepsi. An actor, I think his name is Mike Butters, and he's like, I don't know, I think he's best known for being in one of the Saw movies where he's like trapped in a bunch of razor wire. Here he's like drinking Pepsi and encouraging you to drink Pepsi, and he's like eating chips and pizza and stuff, and he's just like, I guess supposed to be like the stereotypical big fat American, drinking too much soda and eating too much. But this game it's really fun. It's very short. All it is it's a running game where you, as Pepsi Man, are running from point A to point B, collecting cans of Pepsi and dodging obstacles. And it's really easy at first. The later stages get a little more difficult, but by that time you probably collected so much Pepsi and got so many extra lives that it's not really that big of a deal. You can take a few deaths. But yeah, there's not, I don't know what to say about this game. It's fun, but it's really short, and it's very quirky, and it's kind of expensive. It's like in the neighborhood of $100 these days, between 80 and $100 for a copy of Pepsi Man. It's definitely a collector's item because this game will only take you about 30 minutes to beat. There's only 4 areas, and each one consists of only 3 different sections. So 2 where you're running, doing sort of like the behind the back running, and then one where you're running towards the camera as something like chases you and you have to dodge obstacles. Those are a little more difficult because it's kind of hard to see what's coming at you sometimes. But this game, I mean, again, collector's item. The soundtrack is, I don't know, it's like funny. It's a bunch of different versions of the Pepsi Man theme song, which there is a pretty ridiculous Pepsi Man theme song as well. Of course, Pepsi Man has to have a theme song. But yeah, not much else to say. It's fun, but it's very short. It's definitely an oddity in the PS1 library. And if you are a game collector, especially a collector of import games, Pepsi Man is going to be an interesting one to add to the collection. It is pretty fun, though. So yeah, Pepsi Man. Cool stuff. Drink Pepsi. What else we got? Okay, something coming off the top. Very excellent shoot 'em up sequel to one of my favorite shoot 'em ups on the Sega Saturn, actually. This is Raystorm. Raystorm, the sequel to Layer Section. I believe this is the second game, and the third game is Ray Crisis, also on the PS1. And I believe on the Sega Saturn, this game is called Layer Section 2. So that's cool. So what this game, if you've played Layer Section, you pretty much know what it is. You've got your ship. You can fire your main weapon in front of you. It takes out all the enemies coming in directly in front of you. And then you have a reticle in front of your ship, and enemies on the ground or just anything below you, you can lock onto it with that reticle and fire your homing lasers. And that's the exact same as Layer Section, but in here, in Layer Section, you didn't have any kind of super attack or super bombs or anything. In here, you have a power meter that you can build up over time as you destroy enemies and pick up power-ups. And then depending on which ship you're using, because there are 2 ships to choose from in this game, you unleash a huge, like powerful super attack that takes out like all the enemies on screen, or it'll do like a lot of damage to boss characters. So that's really cool. So the gameplay essentially the same, except with the addition of that really nice super attack. The big difference though is in the graphics. The original Layer Section, 100% 2D sprites. Beautiful game. I actually prefer the graphics of Layer Section here. Everything is 3D rendered polygons. And while again I say I prefer the original Layer Section, I prefer the 2D sprite graphics. These are not bad. These are pretty good. For a, you know, kind of like late 90s, when was this released? 1996. So for a 1996 PS1 game, it doesn't look too bad. I guess it doesn't demand so much. Like shoot 'em ups typically aren't like the most graphically demanding things, and they move so quickly that any imperfections are kind of easy to miss or to cover up. Again, doesn't look as good as the original Layer Section, but still looks pretty good for 96 like 3D rendered game. So I don't really have any complaints about the visuals, and the soundtrack is once again very good. It's another Zuntata soundtrack, very similar to the soundtrack in the original Layer Section. There's some like kind of like upbeat stage tracks, but other ones are like very kind of like I don't know, subdued, kind of groovy. Some of them are almost kind of like eerie sounding. But that's cool. That's Zuntata. They made really great music. But yeah, not much else to say. Raystorm. It's really fun. It's fairly challenging. It's not brutally difficult, but it'll give you a little bit of a challenge. You're not gonna finish it in like 20 minutes or something. You might have to come back to it once or twice. But yeah, really fun. Graphics still looking pretty good. Soundtrack is excellent. The gameplay. This is just a great gameplay scheme. All 3 of the games in the Ray series, which I understand that right now there is a Ray collection in the works where we're going to get all of the different games in the Ray series. So like Layer Section, Raystorm, Ray Crisis, all in a single collection, maybe coming out next year. So I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, this game, very good. Raystorm, can't go wrong with that one. Having a lot of fun with that. Next up, something, if you're an anime fan, especially from back in the day, you might find this kind of interesting. This is a game called TV Animation X. The Selection of Destiny. And X, a manga initially, and then I think there was an animated series at one point, but I was introduced to it by the animated film. It was just called X. And it's all of these like characters with like psychic powers or what have you. And there's a dragon clan and there's another clan, but they're fighting for like the kind of like the fate of the world. One side wants to preserve it, the other side wants it kind of like cleansed and kind of like do a reboot of the planet. And on two opposite sides are like best friends, just I guess coincidentally they end up on opposite sides and opposite clans. So that's kind of tragic. The end of the movie is a real downer, and then you get that song Forever Love by X Japan, so that everyone can have a good cry. So the animated movie was pretty good. This is a game based on that animated movie, and it's another game developed by Taito. And if you're looking at this gameplay and you say, wow, that really looks a lot like Psychic Force, also by Taito, you are correct. This is essentially just a reskin of Psychic Force 2. So they took the gameplay of Psychic Force 2, they took all of the attacks. They didn't even really program new attacks. They just took all of the stuff from Psychic Force 2 and then they reskinned it to have characters from X. So if you like the Psychic Force games and you like X, the anime, then this is really the perfect game for you. I think it's your only option if you want to play a game based on X, and I mean it's pretty good. Again, it's just Psychic Force, and I like the Psychic Force games. I like the first one, the second one, and Psychic Force 2012 on the Dreamcast is also awesome. So I like the Psychic Force games. I really like the gameplay. Basically, they're fighting games, but you fly around within this cube, and you can launch a lot of like long distance attacks, and each character has like a different elemental power. So you've got electricity, and you've got a fire person, and water, and wind. I think one person was like gravity, another person was darkness. They use darkness attacks. So a lot, a variety of characters, a variety of powers, and then you can get up close for some melee attacks too. But that's basically it. Psychic Force 2 reskinned with all of the characters from X, and an updated, changed soundtrack. The stages have been changed. They made at least new stages for the game, and there's some bonus materials too. You can look at kind of like artwork and stuff. Production things and cool things featuring the X characters. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So again, Psychic Force with X characters. If you're a fan of both of those franchises, well then this is the perfect game for you. It is TV Animation X, the Selection of Destiny. Cool cover art. Yeah, I remember first coming across this game, I was like, holy wow, an X game? I wonder what that could be. And then getting home and start playing it and be like, oh, it's Psychic Force. That's pretty cool, I guess. I like Psychic Force, whatever. Anyway, we got a few more games to look at, but I want to drink some coffee and sort of relax my throat a little bit. Does coffee relax your throat? I don't know, maybe it does. So chill out. Hey, we'll take a break after these messages, blah, blah, blah. The cowboy or the little dog, or after these messages. Yeah, take a look at this. We'll be right back. All right. Okay, here we go again. How was that? What did I put there? I have no idea. I don't know beforehand what I'm gonna put. It's just when I'm editing, I do whatever I feel like. All right, 3 more PS1 games. Some very cool stuff here. This first game right off the top, another Japan exclusive game. Something really cool. I covered this on Import Game of the Day, like maybe a year or 2 ago. Can't remember when exactly, but excellent game, excellent. Another kind of quirky entry into the Japanese PS1 library. This is Mad Panic Coaster. And what the hell is Mad Panic Coaster? Pretty easy to explain. You play as a guy and a gal, presumably a little boyfriend, little girlfriend, very cute little characters. You are in a roller coaster cart, and then you are sent flying down these roller coaster tracks, and the whole point of the game is that you, one, keep your cart on the track by steering around. You go around lots of twists and turns and things like that, and then there are also like little gaps, and you can actually jump. You can also jump with your little roller coaster cart. And there are also little monsters and creatures and things. I should have said it's a horror-themed roller coaster game. So they're like monsters and zombies and other cool stuff like that all around. So little creatures will come onto the screen, and you can actually launch, I don't even know what they are, they're like exploding balls. You can throw exploding balls and kill the monsters and stuff and rack up points. But basically the whole point of the game is just get to the end of the stage. Navigate the roller coaster tracks. Don't fall off the sides. Don't lose all your health, and kill some monsters and enemies and things. And that's about it. It's just a really fast-paced game. It's really fun. Not particularly challenging. It's a pretty easy game to get through, but you do have to like really like be paying attention the whole time because it does move at some pretty high speeds. And you can go flying off the track, you can lose a life and stuff if you're not paying attention, but generally speaking, not a difficult game, just kind of a really fun game. A big part of what makes it so fun is, one, the visuals are really kind of cool and quirky. Again, kind of a horror-themed game, so there's all kinds of like little creatures and little designs in the stages that are cool. Just a lot of like fast-moving, I guess it's like all the backgrounds are like pre-rendered sprites and things like that. But it does look pretty cool, and your little roller coaster cart is oddly colorful. It's like a pink and green and whatever roller coaster cart, so that's kind of fun. And the soundtrack is also really good. If you like kind of like late 90s, early 2000s, kind of like skater punk, pop punk kind of stuff, if you like sort of like NoFX, or maybe sort of like early like The Offspring or early Blink-182, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that sort of like West Coast skater punk kind of sound. You're gonna love the soundtrack here because that's all it is. It's 100% kind of like late 90s skater punk music, and it matches really well with such a fast-paced kind of like high intensity, fun game. It's fun music. It's a fun game, and fun visuals. So all around, I really like this game, and I think this is like the only game that was released. It says the company is called Hakuhodo. I feel like this is the only game they ever released. They just, for whatever reason, they had a wild hair up their ass, and they were like, you know what? Let's make a video game. And I guess maybe they had some horror/skater punk fans working for them. I don't know. But Mad Panic Coaster is pretty cool. I'd pick this up if you're a collector of Japanese imports, and you're looking for kind of like weird, quirky stuff for the PS1. This game is another one that's a little bit expensive. It's not a very common game, so you could expect to pay like over $100 for it. But it is, again, it's very cool, and it is an interesting addition to any PS1 collection. So there you go. Mad Panic Coaster, fun game. Even the cover, it looks more like the cover of like a CD as opposed to like a video game. But yeah, Mad Panic Coaster, pretty cool. Next up, a game I like a lot. One of my favorite side-scrolling platformers on the PlayStation, certainly. Maybe one of my favorite platformers, like side-scrollers, kind of up there actually. A little odd choice, but this game is called Clayman 2. You might know it better as Skull Monkeys. And this game, odd sequel to The Neverhood. The Neverhood was a PC game, which actually did get a PS1 release in Japan. But it's a claymation game, and I believe the character designs were by, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they were by Doug TenNapel, the designer of Earthworm Jim. But it was a claymation point and click kind of like puzzle solving game. This is just a straight up side-scrolling platformer. It's very fun. You're playing as the same character. I think they just call him Clayman here in Japan. I don't know that he has a name in the English version. But side-scrolling platformer, so you're jumping on the skull monkeys and killing them, but you have all kinds of fun little collectibles and power-ups you can get, where you can you can shoot things to like kill enemies from afar, or you can like fart out of your head and create sort of a clone of yourself, and then run around as like your little fart clone, and then if he dies, you just go back to your regular body. Kind of an odd inclusion. And then you have like you can get like a bird thing that helps you glide around. There's all kinds of additional things you can get. But again, pretty much just a straightforward, very well playing, side-scrolling 2D platformer, but maintaining the claymation graphics and lots of fun little cutscenes using all claymation, where it's your little clayman and he's dealing with the skull monkeys. And I believe the skull monkeys are being led by the villain from the original Neverhood, so that's kind of cool. So if you played the Neverhood on the PC and enjoyed it, and never played Skull Monkeys, when this game first came out of Skull Monkeys, I kind of just like overlooked it. Like I remember seeing the cover or maybe seeing an advert, but not putting 2 and 2 together in my head that it was a sequel to the Neverhood. I guess I just never looked very closely at it. But it is a very good platformer. It plays very well. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty challenging, so be prepared for that. And graphics are really cool. I think the backgrounds are like 2D sprites and stuff, but a lot of your characters are sort of like digitized claymation characters. So like your character of Clayman, the Skull Monkeys, all that. Yeah, they're just kind of like digitized stop motion claymation characters. And that's pretty cool. I like that. So I like the look of this game. The soundtrack is really good too. It's weird and wacky, which I guess if you played the Neverhood had a very strange, kind of off-the-wall, goofy soundtrack. This game does too. Some high-energy tracks, some low-energy tracks. The secret room, like if you collect enough of these little spirals, you can go to little bonus rooms. And the bonus room song is hilarious. It's a guy singing to you about the fact that you're in a bonus room, and he kind of like describes it to you, and I don't know, it's weird. It's a weird game, I'll grant you that, but all the weirdness aside, the gameplay is just really solid. So that makes it one of my favorite 2D platformers, I think, like ever. I really do like this game. So yeah, Clayman 2, aka Skull Monkeys. It's awesome. This is one that is, I guess, also a little pricier on the PS1 here. Not so bad though. It's maybe like a $60 game these days. And what's funny is, so the Neverhood got a PS1 release, and then Skull Monkeys also gets a PS1 release, and then there's a third game in this series that was only released in Japan. It's called Clayman Gun Hockey. So you use the characters from the Neverhood, and it's like you're playing a game of Crossfire. It's kind of like a mix of like, it's like Crossfire with like air hockey. So it's Clayman Gun Hockey. So that's odd. There's a Neverhood game that was released exclusively in Japan where you play Crossfire, essentially. Last game. This one, not so uncommon, not so expensive, but a great game nonetheless. It is from Capcom. You might have played this one once or twice. It is Strider 1 and 2. And this is awesome. So yeah, it comes with the original Strider Hiryu, which is, a great game, I guess. I've never been the biggest fan of the original Strider. I always thought it was just kind of slow and clunky. When it came to like 2D action platformers back in the day, I was a Ninja Gaiden guy. I was not so big on Strider. But the real, for me, the real reason to have this game is to play Strider 2. Strider 2, I guess, was released in arcades initially and then on the PlayStation. And it feels like it was released like leading up to Marvel vs. Capcom. Because when the original Marvel vs. Capcom came out, you could say that characters like Strider and Jin from like Techromancer and Cyberbots, they were kind of obscure. So leading up to the release of Marvel vs. Capcom, we get Strider 2, and we get Techromancer and stuff, sort of like reintroducing these characters, and then they are dropped into Marvel vs. Capcom. I do really like Strider 2. It's a very easy game. It's very short as well. I mean, I say it's easy. It can be easy to die in some stages, but with infinite continues, it just doesn't matter. You're just gonna breeze through the game. I understand it was originally an arcade game, so you pump a little extra quarters or yen into it, and you just finish the game. There are, I think, like half a dozen levels, but you don't even have to play through all of them. You can just jump ahead to the last levels eventually when you unlock them. So a short game, pretty easy game. You can beat it in like 30 minutes. But it is fun. It's a high intensity, high speed, run, hack and slash platformer. You can build up your like power meter thing, or it's like a super attack, and you can just launch all kinds of like plasma attacks all over the screen, just kill everything. Huge, big boss battles. You're clinging to walls. You're cutting stuff up with your sword. It's a lot of fun. The graphics are, they're pretty good. 3D rendered stuff. Not the best ever, although all the characters are 2D sprites. So you get 2D sprite characters dropped into like a 3D rendered world. And I don't know, the effect is not always great, but generally speaking, this is a pretty good looking game. It's colorful and flashy, and yeah, I would say overall I like the visuals. The soundtrack is okay. There are a few tracks that are like really good, kind of like a little bit of a high intensity, get you into the action, but a lot of the music is, I don't know, really subdued. For such a high intensity game. But overall, the gameplay is incredibly fun. That's the most important thing, gameplay, and that's great. It is satisfying to run around as Hiryu, cutting everything to pieces, watching stuff explode. That's all really fun. Again, giant bosses and stuff. And then all the like little loading screens and artwork between stages looks really cool too. The updated Strider Hiryu character designs for this game from the original. I think it's a big improvement. He looks cool when his scarf is waving in the wind and stuff. He has almost like, and his poses he's in, he's almost like, it almost reminds me of like Spawn or something, but obviously without like the huge like cape and shroud and stuff. But yeah, great game, a lot of fun, and this is one that's pretty cheap. Actually, you can pick this game up for like 20 or 30 bucks these days. Comes with both Strider and Strider 2. And that's, to me, that's worth the price of admission. It's a good game, and again, for collectors, Capcom fans, this is kind of like a little gem on the PlayStation. Fun stuff. Strider Hiryu 1 and 2 on the PS1. Good stuff. And there you go. That is half a dozen Japanese PS1 games. Good stuff. Having a lot of fun with it. It's going to be hard to let it go. Okay. So again, I'll invite everyone down in the comments. PS1 stuff. What's on your wish list? What are some of your favorites? Because, you know, I'm kind of like, my favorite PS1 games are kind of predictable. So, you know, Spyro, Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3, Crash Bandicoot 2, stuff like that. Nothing too exotic, but stuff like Skull Monkeys, Mega Man X4, stuff like that. Just, you know, the absolute classics. But yeah, like I said, lots of kind of weird, quirky stuff got released on the PS1 in Japan for whatever reason. Things like Mad Panic Coaster and Pepsi Man. There's some interesting titles out there on the Japanese PS1, I'll say that. So yeah, let me hear it down in the comments. Always good to hear from you. And that's it. So until next time, everybody, take care, enjoy your PS1 games, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.